In this video, we're going to talk about navigating enmeshment with a parent and how we actually slowly detach from this type of relationship. Now, what is enmeshment? Enmeshment isn't simply being close to your parent, because healthy closeness allows two people to be connected while still remaining separate individuals. You can love your mother, but still disagree with her. You can be close with your father and still make decisions that he doesn't approve of. You can care about your parents' feelings without feeling responsible for regulating those feelings. In enmeshment, these boundaries are blurred. Your parents' feelings have always felt like they are your responsibility. Their disappointment can feel like something that you have to fix. Their anger can feel threatening. Their approval can become connected to your sense of self-worth. And any independence that you strive for can begin to feel like betrayal. This is one of the reasons enmeshment can be so confusing. From the outside, people can look at your relationship and think, wow, they're really close. But internally, for you as an adult, you feel like you are not free. You feel like you are trapped in this relationship, that you are not free to make your own decisions, to live life in a way that is appropriate for you. And if you are ready to slowly detach yourself from this kind of relationship, then this video is for you. Now, the first question you can ask yourself when you have a parent like this is, am I making this choice because I genuinely want to, or because I'm afraid of how my parent will react? And this is actually a very different question from, does my parent agree with me? Your parent doesn't have to agree with your choices, but the question is whether you are actually free to make these choices. For example, if you say, I don't want to go on holiday with my friends because I feel like my mother will be upset, this is unhealthy. Another example is that you may say, I can't move out because dad will feel like I'm abandoning him. Or you may say, I feel that I need to tell my mother everything, otherwise she will feel excluded. So you're always worrying about how your parent is going to react. You're always worrying about their feelings, and this is not healthy. If your parent is unhappy, you will feel guilty for enjoying yourself. You may find it hard to say no to them because they will think that you don't love them. These are signs that certain emotional boundaries haven't fully developed. And this is something that you really need to work on in order to have healthy adult relationships. Now, why does detaching from an enmeshed parent feel so terrifying at first? Initially, detaching from such a relationship can feel very, very uncomfortable because feelings such as guilt, anxiety, selfishness, fear, loneliness, and even grief will come up for you. And this is why some people conclude, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I shouldn't be feeling so many horrible feelings by trying to detach from my parent. But actually, yes, you have to go through this in order to detach. Because when we're in an unhealthy relationship and we're used to that, anything different to that isn't going to feel familiar. Sometimes guilt, when we try and do something differently with our parent, is actually a bit like an emotional alarm system that goes off when you are trying to do something different to what you were conditioned to do. And this isn't bad, this is actually good. And all you need to do is just sit through that guilt and just let it pass, because it will pass. And at least by doing something that you want to do, you are not betraying yourself. Now, it's important when you are detaching to do this little by little, step by step, because if you do it all at once, it may feel like too much. It doesn't mean that you have to go from an enmeshed relationship to no contact. It means that you can do this slowly. So you can start creating separation gradually from your parent. Think of it as moving from we are one to we are two separate adults who can choose to have a relationship on slightly different terms. The first step to changing an enmeshed relationship is to automatically stop sharing absolutely everything with your parent. So you need to become more private about your life. Don't tell your parent every problem that you're having, every disagreement you're having with your partner, every financial decision, every friendship problems, every personal goal you may have, or any emotional struggles you're having. The more that you share, the more that they can use this. So try not to do this. Does your parent actually need to know all those things, or have you just become accustomed to telling them everything? Because actually having privacy isn't rejection, it's just part of being an adult. So you are allowed to have an inner world that belongs to you and doesn't belong to your parent. The second step that you can try is to start making decisions without consulting them first. This can actually be surprisingly difficult, but if you start small, this will get easier. So don't tell them what you're going to do at the weekend, or don't tell them what you're going to buy. An example of this is that when you go shopping, just don't tell them. Don't tell them what you're going to buy. Don't ask for their opinion. Just do it. Make a decision to go somewhere without consulting with them. If you decide to spend time with a friend, again, just do it without consulting them. You don't need to run everything by them. You can make decisions on your own. You're perfectly capable. You may not be used to doing this, but you have to start somewhere. And when you start making decisions without consulting your parent, notice what goes on inside you. Do you have a voice in there that says, I better check this with mum, or mum's not going to like this? Notice that voice when it comes up and tell that voice that this is not healthy anymore and that you need to change it. Another voice kicks in and says, what if mum and dad think that I'm making a mistake? Well, you can ask yourself, well, what do I actually think about that? Do I trust my own instincts with this? Do I have the ability to make a decision without consulting somebody? You have to try it in order to get used to it. So the more you do this, the easier it will get. The third thing you can do with an enmeshed parent is to let them have their own feelings without getting too involved, without feeling like you are responsible for those feelings. So if they turn around and say you're being selfish, if they're disappointed in you, if they tell you that you've changed, if they become really upset and they start making you feel guilty, instead of telling yourself, God, this feels horrible, I really need to make this better, you can tell your parent, well, you can have these feelings, but I can have my feelings, and my feelings in this case are more important. Their disappointment does not mean that you are doing something wrong. What it means is that you're doing something different to what you've always done and they don't like it. You need to sit with their discomfort and you need to sit with your discomfort and just keep doing the right thing. The more you do it, the easier it gets. Just because they have their own emotions, just because they are sad, it doesn't create an obligation for you to change your decision. You can still have compassion for your parents' feelings without taking responsibility for their feelings. Another thing you can do with this kind of parent is that you don't need to over-explain. You don't have to say, I can't come because I'm doing this, or I have to do this because, or I know you're not going to understand, but I really have to do this. You don't need to say any of that. You can simply just say, I'm not able to do that. That just doesn't work for me. I've decided to do something different, or I'm going to think about it and get back to you. And if they start asking you questions and they say why, say, well, I just can't. And that's it. You don't have to give them an explanation. A boundary doesn't become more legitimate just because you have provided 10 million reasons for it. No, a boundary is a boundary. You can say it doesn't work for you. You can say that you just can't do it, and that should be enough. And they need to learn to respect that. Eventually they will get it. Now, another thing that you can do in this sort of relationship is notice the communication that you have with each other at present and start creating more space. So if you are used to speaking to your parent 5 times per day, start reducing it. You can speak to them once per day at the beginning. Then you can speak to them every other day. Then you can try and speak to them twice a week, but not more than that. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but what you're doing is you're slowly teaching your nervous system that you can do this, even if your parent reacts badly, even if they start complaining, even if they don't like your boundary, you have to stick with it. Now, another important thing to take into account is the family role that you were given in this enmeshed family relationship. What were you in your family? Were you the good daughter or the good son? Were you the peacemaker? Were you the caretaker? Were you the therapist? Were you the one that was successful? Were you the responsible one? Were you the mediator? Were you the replacement partner? Were you the one that never caused problems, that never expressed any emotions? Whatever your role was, you can start reminding yourself that you do not need to be that person anymore. So you can say to yourself, I am no longer available to be the family therapist. I am no longer responsible for keeping my parents happy. I don't have to be the good little boy or the good little girl at the expense of myself. I am able to step out of the family role that I was assigned and just be free. Now, another thing that's worth mentioning is that you must expect feelings of guilt to come up. You will set a boundary and they will make you feel guilty. Guilt doesn't necessarily mean you've done something wrong. It just means that you are changing the family dynamics and they don't like it. Another important thing is about how you build your life. Don't build your life that revolves around your parent. So you need somewhere else for your attention to go. Your friendships, your partner, your work, your creativity, your own home, your values, your own routines, your own identity. You need to also remember that getting away from an enmeshed relationship with a parent is essentially you trying to find a new identity, something that is different. You have to be a different person to who you were, without being attached to that parent in such an unhealthy way. When a family system has been accustomed to your availability, to your compliance, to your emotional caretaking, your independence is going to disrupt this dynamic. They're going to start saying things like, you've changed, what happened to you, you used to be so caring but you're not anymore. You're being so selfish, you don't care about me anymore. They may even blame your partner and say your partner's turned you against me. We're family, you shouldn't really need boundaries with us, and so on and so forth. You sort of get the picture. But every time they complain, you can just say, it's not healthy for me to live this way anymore. I need to just have my own life, my own goals, my family, my own partner. Keep trying, keep practicing. Keep creating distance. Don't tell them everything. Have a life of your own, and you will still feel guilty. But it's just a feeling. You can feel it. Your nervous system will feel it. Your nervous system was accustomed to having a completely different relationship with your parent. It's going to take a long time to change that, but it's okay. You can change it slowly. And as long as you keep doing the right thing and honoring yourself and not abandoning yourself, then it can only get easier. And your parents are not going to be around forever. They will die eventually. And in some ways, you won't have that burden anymore. But you are able to do this. And don't forget, when you've had an enmeshed relationship with a parent, you may then end up feeling like your partner has to become that replacement parent. So you may have a lot of anxiety around your partner not being around all the time. You may have quite an anxious attachment because of the fact that you had such an enmeshed relationship with your parent. And that's another thing to work on. But again, having the awareness is the first step. And if you need help with that, then you can find the right support for yourself. Now, if this video was useful to you in any way, then please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you can check out any new videos that I upload. That's it. Thank you so much for listening and watching today, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.